to another episode. This would be, I made another episode. I'll call that episode 2. But like I said in episode 1, I was having a little chit chat. I was a bit heated. And I'm good at getting heated, I'm good at getting passionate, and I mean what I say. But I also understand that part of the teachings I wish to express is that everything is a frequency, everything is light, and everything is a vibration. So depending on the frequency of the light and the vibration you emit, it will have a different effect upon reality around you, and said people one is trying to reach. So even though I can get heated and I don't take anything back, I also believe it'll be a challenge of me to build and grow into this future, and to be able to use more of a rich vocabulary and hold back the passion and anger and frustration in order to utilize and transform it with alchemy, which is what we are as humans, alchemists, into a better flow. Now, everything is unscripted. Occasionally I might edit, and occasionally I might jot down some bullet points of topics I wish to cover occasionally, which I haven't yet. And I do a lot better when I'm speaking outdoors, I have to admit. I have a recording studio and a production studio I'm putting together. But whenever I'm outside, the oxygen and nature and the sound of all the birds and the bird flies overhead, it's just nice, so much nicer. So, first, I walked past a shop today, and a very lovely lady in said shop leaves a basket of freebies outside. Just, this is not for sale anymore, and that's not for sale anymore. And I have these 2 logs of goat's cheese. Now, I grew up in the south of France. When someone says this is not good enough for sale anymore, a French southern country boy will say, "Sacré bleu, you must put this by the windowsill. It's red wine." It's perfect, if you'll excuse me. Oh. Ha! And that's free. My God, what a blessing. Oh, wow. So yeah. Oh my God. That was like one of the best mouthfuls of goat's cheese I've had in almost 5 years. So yes, I grew up in the south of France, on and off. My dad owned, when he was alive, 4 houses in the south, in the Dordogne region. And man, it was good. These houses were derelict, ancient. One was 12th century with a basement that was 9th century, built by the Romans. The top was 12th century. And one of the other houses, I think 2 of the other houses was about 14th century and the other one was 16th century. These were really, really old houses. And we would go down there to work on them for sometimes up to 6 months of the year. And my dad would set up the old tents from the 70s, the old canvas tents, you know. And he would call it working holidays. Never really had a holiday. But it was great. Some people said I was deprived as a child, and I look at them now and I look at the way I think and my memories, and they were great. They really were great. And my dad was a very, very clever man. Everything he did was a self-sacrifice. Everything he did. He had me a little bit later in life, so I think he knew he wasn't going to be around forever. And he always said that he was so thankful for his father for the lessons he taught him. And he would always say to me, "You don't think, you don't use your brain, you don't listen, you don't communicate, you don't this, you don't that, you don't the other," but repetitively, for a long time. And he would also lecture me for hours, and I mean hours. Long, long, long time. In fact, I think I will edit the other episodes that I got a bit heated in, so because I was doing some good communicating and talking there. There's a pigeon fly. He would lecture me for hours. Long, long, long time. And I hear kids today complain, that college kids, they go, "Oh, I've got a 2-hour lecture today. Oh me, oh my." Man, I was lectured all day with knowledge that I can't even remember now. Oh, here we go. Little horses then. Sally ho, cracking on.
The fuck?
Oh no.
Okay. I think this is not a place where people want me to be recorded. Wonderful spot I've just found. Well, have I got a tale for you guys? Amazing, even when something falls over you still get growth from it. Episode 2 went absolutely atrociously, oh my god. I followed some hikers. I saw a path off of the path onto some field. Some hikers at the top as I was following. And then I saw a kissing gate style gates that they passed through, bidding each other farewell. I walked around, found a spot that I thought was a nice spot to record. And a whole bunch of horses and people on horses went galloping by. I said tally ho, wished them well, and was hurled a whole bunch of verbal abuse at. And in that instant I realised I've wandered onto what looks like a racecourse. So with a belly full of nerves, feeling like I've done something horrifically wrong, I departed from said land, found another, ironically, path that led off of said land onto another path that anyone could easily follow on, including a group of said hikers, and walks off, and the nerves in my stomach and me feeling like I'd done something dreadfully wrong slowly turned into frustration and a borderline anger. For there was no signs that I saw, and no border, no fences that I saw. Anyone could stroll onto said land. And the way I was shouted at was like, I should know better, I should know, you know. And ironically, just before said incident, I was saying how I can get a bit animated sometimes and I wish to change the energies into something positive. And why I wanted to get rid of an episode I did where I get frustrated, and it's based out of love, but I get frustrated on what's happening to people. And I've tried for years to reach people. How do you reach them? But I've noticed over said years that when I just say, do you know what, gloves off, right, that's that, you're an idiot, why is this? Because you eat food that's going to kill you, or you allow yourself to get dumbed down, you allow a newspaper, a certain newspaper, to condition you so terribly when the day before your thought process was completely different. And I noticed by having a bit more of a badass attitude that I create more of a change. Okay, I make more enemies, but oh well, you know, it's just what it is. But trying to be polite and so on and so forth, it doesn't really work. And here's me saying it in this channel that, hey, I'm going to try and be a little bit more, less passionate and a bit more using a more richer vocabulary to explain what I have to say. And those horses with the people on road by, so-called ladies and gentlemen. Ladies and gentlemen are concerned. Debonair should be respected and admired, honest, kind people, kind folk, yes. I didn't witness this here. Hello, Mrs. Bumblebee. Queen Bee finding herself a nest for the year. So, I got up and left, and I bumped into a dog walker, and I just said I've just been yelled at and hurled a bunch of abuse at for walking on said racetrack. And he said, oh, it's fine, they do that all the time. They're always abusing people verbally and shouting at people, and that they, his own words, believe that it's them against the world, and so on and so forth. I said, well, in my defence, I didn't really know. I just followed a path off of this path. There was nothing stopping me, no signs that I could see. There was one sign on the way out that said private land. That was it. But even that was small and green, and you could have walked straight by it without reading it anyway. So I most definitely didn't deserve or need to be spoken or shouted at in such a way. So I munched on the rest of one of those logs of goat's cheese. I was going to save that. I have another one though. And I walked further and further, and I found this lovely spot. And this lovely spot, I'm going to finish my recording. Can't remember where I left off. before those horses went by and the fools on said horses hurled abuse at me. I can't remember what I was speaking about. Basically what I wish to teach and preach is that each one's each one and everything is magic. Everything is magic. Now you can call it what you will. Religion, spirituality, science, vibrations, light, frequency, manifesting with the universe, folk magic, white, black, colourful magic, chaos magic, like coincidence. You can call it whatever you wish. But when one realises that music is magic, a musician is a magician, and you can say to someone, like words are spells, you can say to someone, my God, you're very beautiful. You can say to a very gorgeous young lady, my God, you're very beautiful. And go through all the elements that can take place. Feel a bit flustered, a little bit embarrassed, but you say it anyway, and then you walk off feeling good about yourself. And she might blush, walk off feeling good about herself. You haven't made any physical contact whatsoever, yet you've made a change in the world. Words are spells. Words carry energy, words are spells. Like being hurled that abuse whilst the land shakes underneath me and I walk away with my guts all full of nerves, like I've done something horrifically wrong. For a while I felt bad. All right, let's get out of here. And then it turns around when I started mumbling some words to myself and I alchemized that energy into some borderline anger, most definitely frustration, which I tried my best to calm myself down from so it didn't get the better of me. Words are spells. And if words are spells, and if music is magic, and music is a vibration, which is a frequency is a light, we can only see 1% of light. 99% we can't see. And if everything vibrates, which it does, even if your table that you think is still, zoom in, it's vibrating because it's made of particles. And a particle in a cell is hollow, 99% hollow, except a tiny little bit in the center that spins round, continuously spins round. Everything is made of particles and everything's moving. Everything is actually hollow. When the more you zoom in, the more you realize it's porous and hollow, not solid at all. Even a stone of flint that you would think is flintstone, absolute solid. Once you zoom in enough, you realize it's actually hollow, because you said, and I'll say again, it's made of particles, which are hollow, except it has a tiny little nuclei in the center spinning around. And I can put my hand on this stick and then take my hand away, and with certain technology which was made out of alchemy, more magic, you can see the heat from my hand, which means energy can pass from my hand onto something. And your intentions are not just your words, but also your thoughts are an invisible light called a brainwave. Wave is a wave of a frequency, which is light and it vibrates. We come full circle again and again and again. Everything is magic. Do not, my brothers and sisters of America say, you cursed me, if someone swears at them. Take it back. And they will fight and scrap until one person says, okay, I take it back. I take back the energy. I take back said curse. You cursed me. Now we'd say, oh, you insulted me. Or in England, we'll say, you cussed me. Cussed, it's still cussed, it's just got the R removed. And if someone insults you, do not feel bad about it. And if someone compliments you, do you not feel good about it? I heard an owl recently, not that what just went, but there was an owl that made a lovely sound. I do hope he says something again. So words are spells and everything is magic. And the majority of the world right now is under a spell. But there is hope and there is light. For there is a wonderful awakening happening. I started my recording at 11:44. The first pilot episode that I uploaded last night on the full moon today, the 1st of April. At the end, in fact at 33, twice in there. I was thinking, what am I going to call it? And the video number had 33 in it twice, so I just bracketed the end 33 and left it at that, called it first pilot episode. And I do a lot of online tarot reading where I get people to read my tarot and you know, I read the explanation and if that makes sense to me then I'll watch it, part of it or some of it, and I hear them saying over and over again, oh, as I look up at the timer it's 444 and I look down and it's 111 and 1111 and so on and so forth. So many people are seeing what I'm seeing. And as I know I'm not the only one, and as I know there is most definitely an awakening happening in the world, I feel a responsibility to join and to do something that I'm very proud to do that I consider bigger than myself and that I have a passion for, a great passion for, is to teach just like my dad did to me. And to talk about my story, my tale, the adventures I've had and the tragedies and traumas and trials and tribulations I've gone through. And to help people so they don't struggle how I did. Because so many, and I wouldn't say it was a waste, but you get angry that you've been fooled and tricked because of the time wasted. So if my message can get out to a handful of people, even if it's just one person who can go, wow, I see what you're saying, then it was worth it. And even if no one hears this and these many episodes that I'm going to sit here and ramble in front of the camera, it's good therapy. You know, I'm always going to try and make sure I'm in a beautiful location, maybe a nice country pub or something, and I'm going to create another episode. I'm going to try and do one every day except Sunday. That's what I'm going to try and do. And sometimes I might even do 2 a day. I haven't decided yet whether I speak better, because this is all very new to me, whether I speak better in the daytime or in the evening. I haven't done any evening episodes yet. But I notice in general you've had the whole day to put food in yourself, put water in yourself. You know, you'll be a bit better animated and so on and so forth. And sometimes in the daytime I find it hard to string the words together as best as I would like. Because I haven't woken up properly, I suppose. So yeah, I grew up in the south of France, that's what I was saying. Those wonderful houses my dad had and the tents he would set up on the inside. And always working on them houses. And I went to school down there on 2 occasions, once when I was a little nipper and once when I was, might have been about 11, maybe 12. And my parents split up when I was 8, went down to a seaside town, a very impoverished ghetto seaside town. And I used to say when I was living there that I loved said town, and when I left it I realised that I can't stand and hate the said town. In fact, if it snapped off and fell into the sea I would cry tears of happiness. But when you're there and you're involved in said, you have to kind of make sense of it. Like I was saying before, always give thanks and praise. Saying you love a place when deep down you don't like it, but it's still a form of being thankful and giving thanks and praise. You can't be stuck in a place and be resentful to everything as long as, you know, when you can't get out, it just doesn't make sense. And we lie to ourselves as humans all the time. And we're going to quit smoking. You don't say I'm going to quit smoking because you'll fail. So eventually you'll just do it without saying a word. And you kind of, in your mind, lie to yourself and say, it's all right, well, we're just going to experiment for a couple of weeks. We'll be all right. We'll have a cigarette in a bit. We're just going to experiment for a bit. And then you kind of deny yourself and go self-ignorant, and in your mind you just have a tunnel vision. I'm going to get out the other side, and next minute you've done it. But you didn't do it by telling yourself you're going to quit smoking. The more you say you're going to quit smoking, the more pressure you put on yourself, the more you're going to fail. But it's also said failure that gets you closer to quitting smoking. Because every single time, because I've done it a few times, every single time you get a bit closer and a bit closer, and you tell your mind and your body, okay, well, we've got a bit further than we did before. And the ones that fail, and please hear me, in any addiction, regardless, it doesn't have to just be nicotine, are the ones that beat themselves up when they fail. Because that's the soul of an addict. I am not worthy, spell. Yeah? I'm terrible at this, spell. Pat yourself up on the back. You've relapsed, okay, good. Enjoy it. Light up a cigarette, enjoy it, because you in a few weeks or whenever you're next ready, you're going to attempt it again and you're going to go a bit further and a bit further. Before you know it, you do it. So if we lie to ourselves there's a race of humans and we're being lied to, and if we don't know what we're saying, if we believe what the lies we've been told are true, then eventually we'll lie to our loved ones. You can also lie to yourself when you're in a ghetto situation, or in any situation that you don't want to be in. You say, you know, like I used to say, oh, I love this town. No, I don't. But when I was there, yeah, I love this town. Almost like Stockholm syndrome. You know, you end up having a love for your kidnappers, and I can't understand the psychology of it, but I also can't understand too much the psychology of why I'd say I loved the place that I was, other than I now know to give thanks and praise. And when you do, a light, a thought comes out of your head to the universe, and the universe is like a receiver, and your mind is like a transmitter, or a two-way, should I say. Next minute, you know, every second that goes by, you're traveling into the future, so you actually create your future as you travel into it. Again, we are alchemists. We are magical beings. We live in a magical world. Everything is magic. We breathe in oxygen and we breathe out CO2, and the plants breathe in the CO2 and breathe out oxygen. Even the plants are doing alchemy. Alchemy is changing the molecular structure of one thing into something else and mixing elements. So this phone I'm speaking on is a technological device made with mathematics and science and alchemy and great intentions. And now it's barely bigger than a credit card, and I can have a film fly through the ether like magic onto said phone. We just take the name away and we call it a phone. We call it an iPhone. We call it a smartphone. We call it technology or mathematics, science, dare say alchemy or magic. And if everything is magic, then there can only be different types of magic. Sigil magic, money, you know, word magic, spells, you know. I'm going to speak of more kinds of magic in other episodes. So yeah, I went down to France. I went to school. And we would go out to restaurants in the evening. That's when my dad wasn't cooking, or my stepmom wasn't cooking on a big fireplace with all the lovely Mediterranean and French food. I grew up with some really, really good memories. I'm 50-50, you know. Some good memories and some horrific memories. My parents split up and I'm down in a ghetto town. Like I said in that other episode that I'm going to include. Everything was just red brick. I didn't even know how to get home. I'm getting beaten up and bullied. And I remember my first day at secondary school. I got a dinner pass. I think I got something like £1, 2p or something like that. But I didn't understand, I'm just innocent. And I walk into the canteen and I couldn't believe all the smells, you know, everything smells of, you know, glorified fat, grease and baked beans basically. But to a kid, that's tantalises your senses, you know. So I'm queuing up and I'm not going to be greedy, but I'd like a burger and some chips, and I wasn't allowed nothing as a kid, but you know, Dad's not here and I've got to survive, and God, these smells are driving me crazy. I would really like a burger and some chips and some beans. I think that's good, so I'll have that. And then I'll have a pudding, and I'll have a Mars bar. I know I'm not allowed chocolate bars, but I think I'll have a Mars bar. And a drink, one of those over sugary in a plastic jobby drinks. And I pull out my dinner card. Okay, this would be £4 something or whatever. There you go. Oh no, you only got, you know, £1, 2p on this. You know, you can't do that. You can't do that. You know. I think I walked out of there with a tiny triangle sandwich and the fruit drink. Talk about humbling. No. Wasn't very clever as a kid, and I now understand that trauma can really, even now I find it hard to speak sometimes, can really mess up your mind. And I think back, and I just want to say to myself, it's alright fella, you're alright, I got you. You ain't done nothing wrong, it's not your fault, you know? And that's the compassion in me. Being I'm a very, very empathetic individual. Again, I'll talk about this in other episodes, empaths, and how sensitive one is. And these empaths, I believe, are the ones that are seeing these numbers. You have to be so sensitive in order to see something like this. And this is where the phrase chosen ones is going around the internet. And I learnt the word empathy only a few years ago. And it's true, fits like a glove, makes sense. When I was homeless, I'd go some places and I could feel the trauma in the bricks. And when it rains, I wake up before the rain hits my roof. In the distance between the rain leaving the clouds and falling through the air, through the ether, it wakes me up. That's more sensitive than the princess in the pea. I wake up on a regular basis, eyes stinging, go and make a cup of coffee, saying to myself, yeah, it's going to rain in a minute. And I mean, shit it down. Next minute, it really, really heaves down with rain. That's empathy. Although I'm a grumpy empath, also known as a dark empath or a super dark empath. Yeah, I've gone through so much now. And it brings out the dark in you, you know? Like folded steel, just smash it and smash it and smash it. And before you know it, all the carbons, all the weakness is gone. What makes that steel weak is gone. It's been smashed and folded and smashed and folded and heating up. And next minute you're a different beast, and that's me. And I'm trying to not let go of my spirit, my good spirits, what makes me cheerful. I wouldn't say happy, but definitely you could say to someone, hi, he's in good spirits, or that person's in bad spirits. Again, everything is magic. This is an old language. It wasn't that long ago we would say this, because that person literally would have good spirits about him and would have either bad spirits about them. They're in a bad mood. And I can also shift from one culture to another, and from one accent to another, or way of speaking to another. As has my life been. Like I said, I'm 50-50. I've gone straight down the tracks. Had a good life, had a bad life. Mixed with rich people, mixed with poor people, mixed with what you would call legal people, and mixed with very highly illegal people. And I am straight down the middle now. I'm mixed with religious people, I'm mixed with spiritual people. And I'm very proud of this. I kind of refer to myself as a culture pirate. I can't stand a lot of my life, but I'm not going to let the resentment build up in me and take the better of me. And I can't stand a lot of culture that's been handed to people by a construct that wishes to control them. And then I see around the world that they're not like that, and they have different things in their culture that they hold dear to their hearts. And then I look at how I grew up now. I've had time to ponder and reflect, where the blues and reggae and the culture that goes with said I've adopted into my life. And where my dad was East End and I grew up and I went down to the ghetto, I could speak very rough and very, don't know what the word would be, I can speak ghetto, man, without a shadow of a doubt, and I can sound pretty horrible if I get really angry. And I can also be animated, as I'm sporting everything that I know that can help me vibrate on a higher level. I've got some good materials, some wool, some denim, some soft leather, you know, some cotton. And my stick's anointed with many, many oils, and my hat is anointed, loads of coconut oil in my hat because it dried out. You know, and my magpie skull again is anointed with many different oils and aftershocks. Because it all carries a scent, and a scent again, like everything else, is a vibration. And I've studied many forms of magic. And I come out with them all, and I kind of like, I already knew that from what found me, what saved me, and what I now serve. Like a knight serves his lord, I serve my spirits. My room is like a trading post. Serve spirits. I'm so sensitive, I pick things up not knowing how or why, and then a couple of days later, or even that evening when I have a dream, it answers me, and I know to just have a faith now. My intuition is razor sharp. And this is where you must always give thanks and praise, because it was the being battered, used and abused, going through traumas and horrors that brought me to where I am now. And the fact that I can mix with different people and change the way I speak, and I understand and overstand and inner and outer stand many different knowledges which we would then call wisdom if you can use them with confidence and put them in your mental toolbox. I'm now happy and proud of this. And I realised that all the shame, it wasn't shame, it was burden, and it was, if not other people's shame, trying to get me to be like they are. And I say nay, haha, and I shall now break them free. And I will not be like them, and they will not be like me. And you're never going to get your acknowledgement or your apology or the acceptance you're looking for, no matter how hard you try, so don't look for it. And when you're trying to help and reach someone, they're not going to admit to, very, very rarely does someone do. And these are very, very amazing people, very, very gracious salts of the earth, should we say. Occasionally someone says, wow, you've saved me, and pay your homage, but don't look for it. Mostly people are embarrassed. They know that you're free, that's why they're shaming you, that's why they ostracize you. You've got something that they want, but they're ashamed of what someone else might think. But the other people, they don't think, they get told what to think. And it's a giant hypocrisy, and it's a web of chaos and terribleness. But when they're alone at night, in the dark, before they go to bed, my words, or anyone else's words who tried to help said people, will still ring in their minds. And that's when they get to make a decision, without feeling embarrassed or, not accepting any shame. They suddenly make a decision. And some people are trendsetters. It took me a long time to have the confidence to walk out with my stick, my jacket, my hat, and so on and so forth. I know some people might find that strange, but I have been conditioned a lot of my life also. And I've had to go through it like a tangled mass of hair. And you only have a set of tweezers. It takes me a long, long, long time. So, when eventually I left the town, the ghetto seaside town that I was at, I went to live in Devon for a couple of years. That's when I taught myself how to play the guitar. I knew how to play a few songs, and everyone said, oh, Ollie's really good at guitar, but it wasn't true. They were just bigging me up. A lot of people bigged me up when they shouldn't have when I was a kid. But when I was in Devon, it was like, right, everyone said I'm good at guitar and I'm not, and this is really frustrating me, so I sat down and I taught myself how to play properly. I grew my hair down to just past my arse and started sporting a trilby, just a chord, what do they call it, corduroy? Corduroy something trilby? And even then, I had a belt that I put round this trilby, and those little pins, badges with a little pin and a stopper on the back, little brass ones. I had a whole bunch of them going around it. Even then I had a calling to do what I do, which I will save for another episode. But even then I realised I was, now that I look back, I was breaking free, and I was using magic to help myself break free, but I didn't know what I was doing then, but I was doing it, And then when I come back to the seaside town, years later, it always pulled me back, and it never will again, but here we go. I was like, well, when I left, I was a skinhead with a 500-pound soft leather Burberry's bomber jacket and silk scarf, thug gangster looking type individual. I noticed that if you put a combination of thuggery and ridiculously smart together, that people assume that you're either powerful, dangerous, or know someone who's powerful and dangerous, and that's how you kind of fit in to a ghetto without ending up with bloodshed on your hands, which I most definitely didn't want. So how am I going to get back to this ghetto now? And I've got long ass hair and a trilby hat that I really enjoy wearing, and I'm playing my guitar now. By not caring. And when I didn't care, this freedom come about me, where I found myself strolling. Like when you're on holiday and you're coming back from a restaurant to your hotel and you're just strolling, you're not walking quick, you're enjoying Everything you see, taking it all in and you're just strolling. I found myself doing this. And I would sport Hawaiian shirts. I'd have 9 or 10 Hawaiian shirts, really nice ones as well. And my trilby and some brown leather shoes, and always liked my blue jeans. I'd sling my guitar over my back, even though I weren't playing. It's an unplugged electric guitar, and I'd walk around with a small bottle of beer and a couple of little joints. Just walk around, having a little, not really getting stoned and not really getting high, just kissing the edges and enjoying myself, you know. And I noticed quite quickly that other people started sporting a trilby hat with long hair coming out each side and a Hawaiian shirt. Exactly. I thought, wait a minute, you look like me. I thought I was unique in this. And it offended me. I'd go back to Mum and I'd say, Mum, these motherfuckers, they're copying me. And at first, Mum's like, well, no, it's a known thing to, you know, you're not the only one. But I explained it a bit more, and she said, well, you're a trendsetter. I don't know what that is. I do now, and I've noticed it's not the first time. When you don't care, other people can't ostracize you. They might try, you just show them that you don't care by ignoring them. And the less you do, the more of an effect it has upon them. And then you realise they're the ones with the issue. It's jealousy, envy, an inability to communicate correctly, be honest with themselves, let alone somebody else. And they would rather snub you out, even sell you up the river, and you'd go through horrific betrayal just so they haven't got to face themselves in the mirror. And for a long time, and still part of my stomach, because I've been betrayed many times by people I'm trying to help and reach. And this is again what can make me a bit animated. But also I realised that they actually want to break free. So, like I said, how do you reach them? Well, less is more. Less is most definitely more. Being all polite, it doesn't work. Just being who you wish to be without caring shows that you don't need to care. And if you don't need to care, you can't be ashamed. And if you're proud because you don't care and you're speaking your truth how you wish to speak it, you're then leading by example. And you're showing the people that you are not ashamed. Therefore, they must be lumped with their own shame that they try and put on you. I don't want to hurt you, Dan. Sit back like that. Because the bottom of my back is about to split. Now, what makes a kamikaze pilot fly his plane into oncoming shells that are fatter and wider, rapid fire, and fatter and wider than my stick, knowing he's going to die, and his plane is just loaded with TNT? Pride. Yes? Pride. A sense of pride for country, for the people, your family, your loved ones, for the gods and spirits. Pride. And what made a samurai warrior commit seppuku? Shame. Pride and shame are so very, very powerful. And pride and shame are also words that carry a lot of power, and words are spells. If you can shame a country through the media, through the phones, we even shame each other. This is psychological and spiritual warfare. You can create great misery and great chaos by putting shame upon people. And also pride. There's good pride and then there's foolish pride. Hey, you Miss Bumblebee. Yeah? And we dumb each other down, and we get dumbed down by the newspapers and by the media and stuff. When I was a youngster, I'd listen to the news, and you'd hear the people talking sternly that this is happening, and the bells will ring, dong 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 da dong dong, and hey, this is happening today, man. Now you listen to the news and it's like being in kindergarten. And today, guys, and this is going to be happening. It's like, Jesus Christ. Like I said, I dare you not to watch TV for 3 months, like the channel 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Don't watch it. Don't watch the soaps, because if you hang with an intelligent person, that's going to have a good effect upon you, or rub off on you. And if you hang with like thugs, that's going to have a bad impression upon you. Yes. The TV is the same. The people you see on TV is the same as if you're actually hanging out with them. Have you not noticed how the soaps, and I haven't watched TV in 9, 20 years, and I don't need to watch, I just need to see a snippet of a soap to go, wait a minute, they're putting political agendas and psychological brainwash attacks in the actual soap operas themselves. And then that has an impression upon you. I mean, think about it really. Look at the food that you serve your children for breakfast. Bowl of Rice Krispies. When you're in poverty in the third world, you're lucky if you get a cup of rice a day, okay? Rice Krispies, that's like a spoonful and a half, maybe 2 spoonfuls of rice. It's crispy, it's bleached, there's no nutrition in it. That's what you get. There's more nutrition in the milk. Let me remind you guys, I grew up in the south of France. Plates of croissants, dried meat, leftovers from the glorious meal the day before. Lunch, we had steak, like at a restaurant. We used to sit with a real, at school this is. Real knife and fork, real plate, steak and chips, baskets of bread hot, fresh from the oven. You'd be lucky if you get that at a butcher's, you've got to go there at a certain time. This was every day at school for lunch. It wasn't even a rich school ever, it was just a school. I want to get back to England because I said I come from both sides. I had to go back down to the ghetto, and we are stood there as 10, 11-year-olds with prison trays. You know, the tray, you get a slop of this, you get a bit of that put there, and a slop of that. We stood with prison trays. If I find the link, I'm going to upload it. There's something I saw on a YouTube Shorts where you've got this person, very clever fellow, made a very good observation. And he says, what colour was everything when you was in kindergarten? Nursery school, what colour was it? Everyone says, well, every colour. It was colourful, rainbow coloured. It was all different colours everywhere. Very vibrant. Correct, he says. And then what colour was it when you went to school? Well, bland. What colour was it when you went to secondary school and college? Bland. And when you went and got your job, wherever that might be, bland. Even more bland if it's a government job. But then when you go to a nightclub or walk up and down the high street, what colour is it? Everyone went, oh yeah, it's really colourful. That's magic. Everything is magic. Yeah? When you stand in a court, have you noticed it's quite cold in there? Because that makes things shrink. So you shrink. And the desk in front of you is raised up a little bit higher. That's to make you seem smaller. And then the judge is sat up really high, probably with a personal radiator around just that box. I don't know this is the case, but I'm assuming it is. And the ceilings are really, really, really high. This is to make you seem really small, so you don't realise your potential. And the galleon ships, the old galleon ships, there was the top deck, and then, you know, the quarter deck, and then the bottom bit where all the workers were. It's the same thing. It's all built so people knew their place. Once you see these few things, you can see them in other aspects of life and society and systems. But once you understand them, you can use them to your own advantage. And this is where I'm going to start teaching and preaching about the different elements, the different conjurations and ways of creating a better life. I'm trying to unlock people's minds and asking people to each one teach one. Don't just hear what I say, try and tell other people. Try and go through the same journey that I went through, but obviously not as painful and shouldn't take as long as it did with me. And yes, please like and subscribe and share, but more so, each one teach one. Like the word chosen ones is going around. That's brilliant and positive. But we as humans, we repeat each other. We see something and repeat it. But what we don't do is think freely. AI is coming out and it is quite shockingly intelligent, I have to admit. It's quite wonderful, some of the things you can do with it. But what people are doing with it is like, you got AI music. Robert Johnson, the Lost Records. And you go to another genre of music. This, the Lost Recordings. Another genre of music. The Lost this, the Lost that. No, it's bollocks. It's bollocks, it's not true. And the next person is saying it because they're seeing the amount of views that the first person was saying. Views, numbers, sigils, magic. They're under a spell. Everything is magic. Banned information, must watch. You know? These are just terrible buzzwords. What about think freely? Think freely. Hurts. You've got to get into a part of your brain that you haven't used in sometimes ever. And here the comments are going to eat me alive over that one. It's true for a lot of people. I couldn't even imagine what it must be like to be born on a ghetto, to live there every day, to eat the food that's just devoid of nutrients, replaced with poison, and then listen to music that actively encourages you to do terrible things, and the information and the people you're supposed to look up to dumbing you down because they were dumbed down and hey, have to do what we're told. I couldn't imagine it, I honestly couldn't. And my heart goes out to each and every individual, and I've been in them ghettos for years. I can switch from one character to the next in seconds. I can survive and put me in any place in the world basically, and I fit in. I've had a very adventurous life. And now I've come to the end of it, and I say, well, not the end of my life, but the end of this journey of trying to escape and break free from my mind, and then the years of anger and frustration and bitterness that it was all a lie and a con. And now I'm ready to give back and help people. So I expect to be ridiculed and the comments to be a righteous arena of word battle, should we say. You know, that fella Sadhguru said one thing that I thought was quite interesting. If you eat an apple, within minutes it's starting to become part of your flesh. And my head just went on the duality. So what happens if you eat instant noodles and crisps? Yeah? And let's say you do this every day for years and have a little bowl of Rice Krispies for breakfast and then some school slop on a prison tray. The hypocrisy and the evilry, there to learn, to get a better mind, and your mind is being made of the slop that falls on that tray and the crap that you eat. And it's getting worse. I see kids given a whole pack of jelly babies or jelly sweets of some description. Whole packet like it's a bag of crisps. Not like a treat and you get a few each, no, whole packet. Do you know what a kid having a tantrum is? It's an overdose from the sugar. Kids detox so quickly. I want my sugar. I need another sugar fix. You know, kids, they're going through, they're growing up and they get, what's it, almost said alchemy again. They get spots. What's it called? Well, they say, well, you know, you're growing up, you're going through puberty, so you're getting spots. Bollocks. Go out into the sticks, into Africa, into Asia, where people live in the sticks in the middle of nowhere, where they're healthy as hell. They don't get no spots. Yeah? Oh, and then buy this product. This will help it. This special product, you know. The whole thing's it's a joke. It's not real. What's real is you're eating crap and your body is detoxing said crap, so you end up with pus coming through your skin. There it is. There's your explanation right there. If I don't work out for a while and all of a sudden I work out, I'll get a spot here, a spot there on my back, and a spot here. Because the muscles are swelling up, so it pushes and it pushes, and all of a sudden, anything that's in that muscle that shouldn't be, the body gets rid of it. So let me just run that by you again. Kid having a tantrum, unless you've spoilt your kid and you don't discipline your kid, that's different. But a kid having a tantrum, 9 times out of 10 has had too much sugar. And we think we're doing the right thing. And that's again what gets me involved. We think we're doing the right thing. Sugar is made in a similar way that crack cocaine is made. It's a crystal derived from a plant. It affects the brain in a similar way that, well, the same way, just not as intense as crack cocaine is. And here I can get heated again. Calm myself down a bit. Woosha. Study, guys. Think what you're doing. Realise, I ain't attacking you, I'm attacking what's happening to you. And for the ones that know what I'm saying, I love you for it. How do you reach them? Fill up the comments, give me some advice. Let's have it. Let's. And also I need a name for the channel. The Imaginarium is not working. I typed that in and I can't see my Imaginarium, so let's have some ideas of names for the channel. I'm gonna come up with one. Or I'm gonna pick a name and with your help find a better name than the Imaginarium. You know, one of the best lessons my dad ever taught me, he said, son, you're full of shit. Remember I said he gave me knowledge, loads of knowledge. Loads and loads of knowledge. And all of a sudden one day the knowledge stopped. And he went, nah, you're full of shit. My dad was a fucking genius. Why, Dad? Because you're full of shit. From lots of answers, all of a sudden I get no answer and I just get the repetition of it. It made me go, oh, in my head, oh, well, you're full of shit. Walk off with a scoff, yeah. This went on for about a year. You could say it traumatised me a little bit at the time. You could say that, yeah. Always got the knowledge, always everything, and that next minute just turned his back, cold shoulder, no, you're full of shit. And one day it clicked. And I walked up to my dad and I said, Dad, I think I realise why you're saying I'm full of shit all the time. And he went, why is this? And I said, well, if I do something wrong, I argue and I get defensive. And people say that something that's not true is bullshit, but if I did something wrong, then I'm the one who did the wrong, therefore I must be full of the shit, which would be bullshit. And you know what? He picked me up, he scooped me on his lap, and he says, more knowledge. Here's another 6-hour lecture. So, one of the best lessons my dad ever taught me. I can't remember a lot of what he said. 6-hour lectures, nigh on 20-something years ago. But what I can remember, and the best lesson he ever taught me is, son, you're full of shit. And he did this so I wouldn't become like the majority of people stuck in the system. You know, you try telling someone who's feeding their children food that you know is going to cause them a terrible health problem in the future, that they're actively doing this. And not only are they actively doing this, they're making someone else rich whilst they're poor and a little bit of money they have. They're ruining the child's mind, their loved one's mind. You try telling them this. They're full of shit. Bruce Lee would say, empty your cup. How can you have more tea in your cup? No, Bruce Lee would say, become water, my friend. That's the one. Water finds its vessel, become water. And a kung fu master, a kung fu monk would say, empty your cup. How can you have more knowledge if your cup's full? My dad was East End, so he said, you're full of shit. It's the same thing. Wonderful lesson he taught me. I say to my friends, don't get defensive, because I tell people straight, don't get defensive. What are you defending? You've got fuck all to defend. Imagine you've got a giant pile of steaming elephant shit. Why would you defend that? I'm only coming along and saying, look mate, you shouldn't step too near that giant elephant dung that's behind you. So you don't walk backwards. You know, it's about to hit you and all your clothes will get fucked. No, you can't tell me, you don't know what you're on about. What the fuck are you defending? You've got nothing to defend. Just trying to help you. If you stand over there, that dung ain't near you, is it? And you can even use that dung to have a better life by spreading it across the land and you end up with good fruit and vegetables. How do you reach them? And I like to say I separate the wheat from the chaff, and you get a whole bunch of business owners, usually business owners that entertain people, and they want to separate the chaff from the wheat. Yeah, it's about money, it's about numbers, they're all under a spell. It's about power, another spell. The whole world and everything you've seen doesn't exist outside of you, it exists inside. Outside is just vibrations and lights, and your eyes make sense of it. It goes through your eyes into your brain, and your brain scrambles and re-scrambles it, and then broadcasts what you see on your back of your head, on inside of your brain. So everything you've ever seen has actually happened inside your mind. And if you change how you think about a thing, the thing changes. You can change your whole life and outlook on life just by learning a couple of concepts, believing them, and not defending a reality that isn't serving you. Like I used to defend the town that I was in, saying I love this town. Nope, I was lying to myself in order to escape it. And just like I was saying that, yeah, we're not really quitting smoking tobacco, we're just testing the waters. And I was lying to myself, lying to my brain, in order for me to leave that addiction behind. And it doesn't last forever. Sometimes, like twice in my life since my dad first told me I was full of shit, it's happened again. And all you've got to do is, and it is a wonderful thing, it's so freeing, is go and look yourself in the mirror and say, do you know what, I'm full of shit again, and laugh. And when you laugh, that's the release. It's brilliant. It's a wonderful feeling, it's a great thing, but you have to notice, you have to go, oh yeah, do you know what? I'm always arguing with people, I'm arguing with myself, I'm making excuses in my head as to why I do something. Oh, damn. Like a computer, you've got to clear the cache. Yep, I'm full of shit again. Okay. I really want to eat that other bit of cheese. And I know if I have just a little nibble, then by the time I get back it'll all be gone. And I don't get to have it for my dinner tonight, or with my dinner tonight. Well, I have an excuse to start editing. I haven't done any editing before really in my life. I've made a couple of lo-fi videos and then lost the name of my account, or the email that I made the account with. So I'm going to go back and mess around with CapCut and edit and splice a few things together. You can all hear me being yelled at by the horse riders. My mind's going a bit blank now, so I'm going to stop the recording and have a mosey on and try not to eat this goat's cheese. A lot of love, guys.